Welcome to the Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Make sure you find the Raptors Show wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe and rate, review the show. A reminder, we're streaming live on Sportsnet's YouTube channel and airing live on Sportsnet 360 Monday to Friday from 2 to 3 p.m. I'm your host, Wim Lou. I'm joined by producer and co-host Alex Wong, and we are joined by the Scores, Joseph Casciaro. Alex, because people who listen to this show on the podcast, they don't actually hear the intro music that we usually, put in. Instead, we hear the generic Raptor Show jingle.
Oh, right.
Can you describe to the audience what introductory song you had for Cash?
Yeah, Joe Cash is the heartbreak kid of Toronto media. He's the Scores' #1 boy, and we always play him in with the Shawn Michaels theme music. And I know famously you don't know much about.
No, I know
90s
that,
wrestling.
I know that, though.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, though. Shawn Michaels and Triple H, even though they were super watched, I was still watching them in 2008. 2009
Who are they wrestling against, man?
I don't know.
Vince McMahon.
I will say it never gets old. Anytime I come through, and you guys play me in with that.
No, I love to put a smile on my friends' faces.
I'll never lose my smile. You too, and that reference is for the real one.
No,
but Will probably doesn't know what the heck we're talking about.
I don't know.
Don't worry, I got you today.
Not a real one.
No, I think Raptors related too. Cash. I actually don't think we have talked about it because Chris Boucher and Precious Achua. I don't think this has gained a lot of traction, but they have referred to themselves as D-Generation X.
They got to start playing the DX music. You know how every player has their own. Pascal's got that cheesy. That's a spicy meatball when he scores.
Oh, we have that as well. If
Fred's
if
got
producer Derek
Dabba
Brandale
Doo.
can pull that up.
There used to be some cool ones like Ibaka.
Yeah, Scotty's got the
Ibaka, when
Jay-Z.
he would get a big block, they would play the Undertaker dong.
Oh,
for him, if you
right.
remember that.
Right.
Lowry, when he would make a bucket, they'd play the Ric Flair woo.
Oh, they could go all wrestling.
Boucher and Precious check in together, which they, when they're both coming off the bench, they often do.
Yeah.
They got to play at least the opening few chords of the DX music.
No, I think it'd be sick. I mean,
You're welcome, Raptors Game Ops.
Yeah, we saw last night, Will.
That's us.
Yeah, that's the one.
Spicy meatball.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not hype about that after Pascal hits a mid-range jumper. That's
update
that one.
But we
too.
saw Herbie Kuhn add
here's the thing.
something new to the mix.
Herbie is, for the Raptors in-game experience, that's Derek, all right? That's Derek Brandale dropping the drops is Herbie in the arena because he just adds the herbs, into the mix, because it's not just the fact that he'll play the drops or whatever. I don't even know if that's him specifically, but he'll just call it out loud. He'll do an audio drop, right? I already mentioned this on the post-game show, but there was a big block, one of, I believe, 6 for Jakob Poeltl last night, and he swatted Franz Wagner, and then Herbie, in a fit of excitement, just said, 9! I was like, man, that's great. Also a great Herbie moment in the start of the third quarter, or maybe the fourth quarter.
Start of the fourth, yeah.
He just randomly said, test.
Yeah.
Sheet. Into the microphone.
No,
man.
listen, shouts to Herbie, man. That's,
That's our guy.
Things come up at work sometimes.
The greatest things come up at work sometimes for Herbie was the time that he, game 1 of the Nets-Raptors series, Raptors' first playoff game.
When the clock wasn't working?
In 6 years.
Oh, yeah.
The shot clock?
The shot clock stopped working, so Herbie had to count them down and then go horn.
Yeah, man. Yeah, Raptors have had a lot of weird game 1s aside from just losing them.
We've had some strange games, man.
Yeah, basketball. All right, I'm Joe Wolfon today. Speaking of Jakob Poeltl, historic game last night from Jakob Poeltl. 30 points, 9 rebounds, 6 blocks in 37 minutes, 15 of 17 from the field. Third player in NBA history with 30 points, 85% field goal percentage, and 0 free throws in a game, joining Klay Thompson in 2019, David Robinson in 1995. Raptors won 123-113 over the Orlando Magic. They head into the All-Star break as of now in 9th. So they're in the play-in.
Can I throw out a weird statistical quirk out
yes,
there?
Please.
I know it's your show, and I'm just gonna hijack.
No, please, man. Bring us to 3 p.m.
I had tweeted this as well, but so last night, Poeltl ended up with 30 points on 15 of 17 shooting, which is 88.something% shooting, and he made 15 field goals. In NBA history, or at least over the last 60 years, that Basketball Reference has the database, it's only the 40th time that's ever happened where a player scored at least 30 on 88% shooting and made 15 field goals. It's only happened 3 times over the last 17 seasons, all 3 times Raptors. Poeltl last night, Gary Trent in 2021, Serge Ibaka in 2018. The last time it happened before that, Shaq in 2006.
Wow, that's an esteemed list. So you're saying that anyone who spent Valentine's Day watching Magic Raptors yesterday was there for a historic night?
Absolutely. You know, I want to retract our statement that I think we made in the off season.
What do we say?
When we did a whole show where we previewed every single game of the entire year.
Oh, that's right.
I believe you actually gave a detailed prediction on every single game.
Yes.
This is in August when there's no other content.
Yes.
And we had stumbled upon this particular game, February 14th against the Orlando Magic. And we joked about it as do not take your date to this game.
Were we joking?
This is not a date. This
giving life advice.
That was y'all consider this a date game. All right. Yeah. And we were wrong. We were wrong. That would have been an excellent date.
When you love the game, it loves you back.
Yeah. No, this is on-air apology to
listen,
everybody.
If you took your date, your significant other, to see Jakob Poeltl make 15 layups,
which he did,
and deny at least 15 layups on the other end, you had a great time. I was so impressed with that game.
Yeah, no, it was great. I want to start with Cash. I know you were thrilled about what the Raptors did or didn't do at the trade deadline. 3 games in, I think rest of the season now, focus obviously looking at just on-court product, what it means to add Jakob to this mix. Coming off the game from last night, like 3 games in, what have you seen in terms of what Jakob has added to this team?
Okay, first of all, before I catch any slander, please know that Alex is joking. I was not thrilled with the Raptors deadline day, but back to your question. I think what he's brought is the obvious presence that we knew he would bring and that any true center and true rim protector on this team would bring. He is protecting the rim. He's solidifying their defense. He is allowing them somewhat to play the brand of defense Nick Nurse wants with a lot of ball pressure and, a lot of extra bodies on ball handlers and stuff because he can protect the rim. Surprisingly, he's playing at the level a lot in pick and roll coverages when he's traditionally been a very deep drop center. And then on offense, he's getting offensive rebounds. He's by far the best screener on the team and getting guys open. He finds the right place to be. Like even when he's not involved in an action, like we know he's a great screener and he's a good screen and roll guy and he'll finish inside and off putbacks and stuff. But I think one of the underrated parts of his offensive game is that he finds the right space to get to even when he's not involved in the action. So it's like, a couple of guys running an action somewhere else on the floor, or maybe a ball handler getting stuck with a double team. And there's a couple Raptors just standing around, and Jakob always knows where to go to either cut, to give that guy an outlet and a release valve, or sometimes just to, cut and catch a pass to keep the possession humming and then, turning around and finding the next guy to keep it going to. Those little things matter. And even though he's not, a traditional offensive type center that you think is like a floor space or whatever, he brings spacing and offensive fluidity in his own way, in addition to what he does obviously on the defensive end.
Yeah, no, I mean, great points because I think, I was so excited for this game. I literally went to the office early today so I could rewatch the entire second half.
Studying Jakob's feet.
You don't understand. I've never watched a man's feet this hard before, man. Jakob Poeltl's feet were excellent in this game. But no, seriously though, I think to the point where you said defensively, right? Because the big question was, are the Raptors going to adapt to the way Jakob Poeltl plays defense, or are the Raptors going to adapt Jakob Poeltl to the way they play defense? I think it was always more likely to be the latter, right? But at the same time, you need to see Jak actually execute in that scheme. And what we saw last night, the reason why the Raptors won this game was because of their defense against Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero, who I think probably shot like a combined 30%, maybe 35%. Like they were both non-factors. Those are 2 really, really good wings, right? That's their version of like Scottie and Pascal, right? And the Raptors did such a great job of switching out against those guys. Jakob Poeltl was involved in a lot of those actions. And as you mentioned, coming out to the level of the screen, cutting them off on the 3-point line, and then absorbing those drives and contesting them. We saw that over and over and over again. I think the fourth quarter, the Raptors might have had like 7 blocks. Dude, just that quarter alone.
The second half defense was insane.
Yeah, it was excellent, and I think they only had 1 block in the first half, and that's a big reason why Orlando, had 70 points. But I think, seeing Jakob move his feet, I think it was a really big part of the way the Raptors are able to play defense because it actually just it continues to intensify the good aspects of what Toronto does defensively. And then offensively, like, that's the other thing too. Like, as you're mentioning, his positioning is good so that all the shots that he got last night were all within the flow of the offense, right? He only got 3 types of shots as far as I'm concerned. Rolls to the basket or cuts to the basket. He had putbacks, and then he had post-ups against smaller guys. And I like that they at least used to post up against smaller guys because that's an option the Raptors have really not had, right? Punishing teams on switches, and Jakob had like 3 or 4 of those last night. So Man, he's just a great game. Highly recommend everyone go rewatch the game and just watch just watch the feed.
We know Will's going to for a fourth time.
I might have to, man. I'm watching it right now. Actually, we have 2 monitors in the studio. One of them's on Raptors in 30. So,
well, Fred had 10 points, and the 15 assists stood out yesterday for him. He was only 3 of 12 from the field. Wanted to know too, like based on what you guys talked about with what Jakob's bringing on the offensive end, like how do you think it's going to affect Fred's offensive game and Pascal's offensive game in any ways? Just having Jakob in the lineup.
Well, I think it's going to help Fred because of what I talked about, even the little things like, Yak knowing where to go, finding space, obviously being a great screener and creating space. I think Gary Trent's another guy that's going to benefit from Jakob Poeltl's screening once he's back in the lineup. But with Fred, I think it'll actually help Fred look more like a point guard at times because he can run pick and rolls with Jakob. Yak's got a pretty good, what they call catch radius. If you're throwing a lob up to him or something, he can go get it. Fred's lobs are sometimes inconsistent. But so I do think there'll be components of Jakob's game that are going to make Fred look like a more traditional point guard. And one thing I'm, I guess, somewhat interested to see is we've talked so much with Malachi whenever we talk about his struggles and how, like, if he's ever going to figure it out at the NBA level, he probably needs to be in more of a pick and roll heavy system. And the Raptors are never going to be a pick and roll heavy team. But I do wonder with Yak now in there, if they run more of those actions, even when Yak is in with the bench in the few minutes he is, how that might, positively affect Malachi Flynn at all too.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the issue with Malachi is they just don't really give him the ball to initiate most actions. And that makes sense, honestly. He's always out there with Pascal or Scotty, sometimes even Fred. Like, those guys are just straight up better play initiators. But I think the overall point about Jakob's screening is pretty clear in this one. Like, you usually see over the course of a game, like before Jakob got here, the Raptors are screening with almost anybody. And the reason the Raptors are screening with anybody was they're trying to get the weakest defender in the matchup, right? But that's not necessarily about the quality of the screen. They're just trying to get the switch, right? Now the Raptors are screening with Jakob Poeltl, and you were noting this when we were watching it in the arena. He just hammers people on these screens.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he mauls them.
It's like a Mortal Kombat type situation. He'll leave a mark. He's going to leave a mark with those shoulders.
Right. And so they're now focusing most of their screening action towards using Jakob Poeltl, which I think is informative in this case because they're now actually playing pick and roll with the intent of going through what the roller's going to do. And of course, like, that's going to be a 2-man game most times, right? Like, you see the way the Magic guarded yesterday, they were blitzing, Fred at the top. And so Fred was giving it up. That's why he had 7 assists in the first quarter and 15 overall in the game. You'll see other games where they drop more often, right? I thought the Detroit game, the Pistons were really dropping on the level of the screen. And so, Fred was able to get into that space and take the shot and be there. But I think right now the Raptors actually have both options to punish a defense, which is nice. Before, I don't think they did have that.
I was just going to say, all of this is why, it's what I said on deadline day too, like, in a vacuum, turning a 2024 first rounder into Jakob Poeltl was not a bad piece of business. It's the timing of it. Like, if they had made this exact move the day before the season started, I don't think any of us would have complained about it, and there wouldn't have been reason to complain about it. It's
we'd be in the top 6, I think.
Yeah, Will would be saying we're winning the East. But
I mean, probably.
But it's just the timing of it. The fact that it happened when they were 4 games under 500 and in 11th or 12th place or whatever they were in a season that seemed lost. And because of with the rollover effect of the pick protections too, it now limits their ability to even trade a future first after 2024 until they've actually relinquished that pick. So if they say wanted to do something this summer, they can't trade their own pick now until 2028 and 2030, I believe, until they've relinquished the 2024 one. So again, in a vacuum, he fits and the trade made sense. It's just the timing of it and the way that the protections on that pick are going to impact their ability to potentially make other or bigger trades this summer, especially if they clearly do want to compete next year.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think the thing is, like, you bring in Jakob, and an important part of it is to see, like, the trickle down effect and what it means to have a center like Jakob to the rest of the roster that you're trying to build, right? Like, what's Fred's role going to look like, moving forward, how it's going to benefit a player like Gary so you can make some decisions in the summer of if you want to move forward with these free agents. But with Cash, it's like you get, like, how many games are left? Like 23 games left to just kind of look at it versus being able to evaluate it over the course of an 82-game season, right? Because, like, they're going to have to make those decisions in the summer of not just bringing back Jakob, but looking at, how Fred and Gary and maybe even, OG and all these people fit. But I guess 3 games in, the results are good.
Well, they should be 3-0 first
yeah,
off.
I mean, looking at it like outside of the Utah collapse, like they should be making a run here. But I mean, they're 4.5. I think they're 4.5 out of 6. It seems like, I mean, barring them making a huge run, they're going to be in the play-in. But I think more than the wins and losses is just looking at how they play, with Jakob and using these games to really evaluate, like, do you really believe in a lot of this core group, like, moving forward, right?
Yeah, it's not just about this year, the rest of this year. It's also about how this group moves forward, right? Because I think the Raptors had that real pivotal moment where they could have moved off of guys at the deadline. Nobody would have been surprised. No one would have complained, really, right? And you could have tanked the year, but clearly they've chosen to move forward with this group, and they want to see how it fits together. So it's not just about what they do in the rest of this year, but I think that, I could envision a future where Jakob is here and a big part of the starting lineup, probably as your 5th option. He's probably not going to score 30 points a game. People, please don't expect this. But, you can play around that group and how he complements some of the main guys, particularly Scotty, who I thought found him quite often in the post, or Pascal, who obviously clearly has a great chemistry with Jakob, and Fred as well, right? So, you have to evaluate all of that, which is, I think, Masai's favorite term. And, he has a lot of wisdom in the way he moves. I don't know. It's true, though. It really is.
No, it's facts. One of the other things we talked about earlier this week, Cash, just like really briefly, is like, they were missing OG and Gary yesterday, and hopefully the team's fully healthy by the time they're back in action next Thursday. There's gonna be a couple guys that are gonna have to come off the bench, right, of this core group. In your opinion, like how would you set the starting lineup for this team, for the rest of the season?
I think OG has to be in there, and I'm really interested to see how good the defense looks with both of OG and Poeltl on the court. Because right now, the minutes with just Poeltl on the court, the defense numbers-wise is almost elite. And if you can add OG to that and have more minutes with at least one of those guys, if not 2 on the court, the defensive upside and the ceiling is there.
Yeah.
I know the concern would be shot creation and shooting in general. With Gary not in the lineup and OG going in there with, Poeltl already in there. But I also think if you're looking at trying to keep the bench minutes afloat, I think Gary makes way more sense as that 6th-man gunner type that can carry a bench offense, even if he's not much of a playmaker, than a guy like OG could. And I think all of a sudden when you start to think about it, where this team obviously has lacked depth, still kind of does, and has had a very poor bench all year, you start to think about it, and it's like a bench of Gary, Precious, Boucher, maybe Thad. They could still use, obviously, a more of a floor general type, like a veteran backup point guard. But other than that, that's actually a pretty fine bench. Like, that's solid enough, I think. If you're only going to be running an 8 or 9 man rotation anyway, if your 3 or 4 bench guys are Gary, Precious, Chris, and sometimes Thad, I think you're fine, again, based on what the Raptors are. Like, they're going to be playing for a play-in spot, maybe to try to get into 6th. If that's the range we're talking about, I think that kind of bench is fine. And I just think it makes more sense than OG with those guys.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, what's got me really excited from watching the game yesterday, besides Jakob's footwork, is
is in the chat talking about feet.
No,
I found a foot fetish on Valentine's Day.
No, come on, man, that's not it. But
JR, clip this.
It's damn it. It's Jakob and Precious working together last night. I thought they did such a great job defensively covering the lane, and especially on those switches against Franz Wagner or against Paolo Banchero, who I know, Cash, that's a Paisan for you, but yesterday he was
had a rough game for the Paisan.
Yeah, I had to use the F word on him a couple of times, with your permission, of course, but wow. He just wasn't.
The F word is Fugazi, but
yeah, but not the other one, which I definitely use also in the booth at the officials. But no, not that one. And that's
the Wolf on Classic.
I couldn't believe he said that.
It's like he's here. He's in Palm Springs, but it's like he's here.
Anyway, just imagine how good the defense will look like with OG, Precious, and Jakob Poeltl on the floor at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, I'm really excited to see it.
So, what would that lineup look like? You think? Like, because obviously that wouldn't be the start. Like, they wouldn't all 3 be starting. So I guess it would be as they mix and match throughout the game.
And you probably would use Precious more as a substitute, as a backup center for Jakob, as a backup small forward for OG as well. But there will be moments when you need to get defensive stops, and you have those 3 guys out there. You could probably put Pascal at 2? I guess 2.
Yeah.
And then Scotty could run the point for you. How are you supposed to attack that lineup?
Yeah.
Right. Scotty at 1, Pascal at 2, OG at 3, Precious at 4, Jakob Poeltl at 5.
It's Vision 6'9" plus a 7'1" center.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of combos that I'm really excited for.
No, I think, coming out of the break, if you're looking at just the rest of the season, like they've got a pretty important stretch here. They're going to play New Orleans, obviously, and then they're going to play at Detroit, at Cleveland, and then 3 big games against the teams that they're competing in the play-in against. They play Chicago, and then they have back-to-back in Washington. I can see the smile on Cash's face. It's not drumming up too much interest for you, but those are going to be the biggest games of the season. I hate to tell you, Will, but those 2 games in Washington is going to be huge.
Oh, bro, Wizards looking good these days, too. They're playing 10 deep. They got a good rotation. DeLon Wright, the other member of the bench mob, is also out there.
Porzingis is legitimately playing his best ball in like 5 years.
He's looking great. Kuzma's having a career year. Beal is still, Bradley Beal. Although he's actually not, I don't think he's the main driver behind the success. I think it's really the team aspect of it. They got some of the young guys to buy in. I mean, I don't know, man. I've been watching some Wizards recently. They look pretty good.
They look very much like a play-in team, classic Wizards. They look very much like a solid 39, 40-win team, which is what that franchise seems to gun for every year. But no, those games. I mean, I was laughing because it's like if someone had told you, in October, we would not be happy with it. But it is what it is. And like I was saying, even last night. I don't know if you guys have noticed it. I've thought like the last few games, even the crowd energy has been better and like the vibes in the arena have been better. And I don't know if it's maybe like the way I'm saying, it's fans almost coming to the realization of like, all right, well, season hasn't gone the way we wanted to. Deadline didn't go the way we wanted to. I guess we're invested in the next couple months now. They seem to be trying to win this year. Let's get with it. I guess that's how we're going to have to treat the next couple months. And yes, to that point, those games against the Wizards and Bulls are going to be barn burners.
No, those are going to be huge games, and it does give me, the fan theory. Maybe it is, the real fans are able to get the tickets now for cheaper on the resale market. Now that the people are letting the tickets go.
Interesting.
But yeah, this reminds me of Tampa a little bit because I do remember some of those games against Washington being massive games.
Didn't Gary hit a game winner?
Yeah, against Raul Neto.
Yeah, Neto went nuts after.
Yeah, and then there was a game against, I think there was another game against Washington to just kind of like determine the season, and that's when we fell out of the play-in altogether. So, I mean, we're back here again.
Yeah, I mean,
it's different circumstances. Listen,
here's the thing you got to understand about the history of the Toronto Raptors versus the Washington Wizards. Outside of 2015, which cannot be spoken about.
Oh man.
The Raptors hit 1 game winner a year against Washington. Okay,
and some crazy ones.
There are some. Corey Joseph's hit a game winner against Washington. You know what I mean? Okay, so Gary Trent Jr. hit a game winner against Washington.
Yeah. Obviously, the Mo Pete play to send it OT.
Which wasn't a game winner, but the Raptors did win that game in OT, so I consider that a game winner. Chris Bosh has had a game winner against Washington before.
Yeah.
I think DeMar has one against Washington. Serge has one against Washington.
Are you saying they're our biggest rivals?
No, I'm just saying once a year. You're good for one of those, so I'm calling
next
it now.
year on Rivalry Week in the NBA. Raptors Wizards on NBA TV.
Who was our rival this year?
Golden State.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah, you play in the finals once and you become.
Does Golden State not have more rivals than us?
I just think the NBA was scrambling to fill that week's worth of programming.
All right.
Yeah, the problem is Golden State has rivals, but then they just dispatch all of them. You talked about this with Andy Liu.
Oh, they literally
you know what I mean? Like Clippers, Memphis.
It's a sign of a dynasty, man. When you beef with multiple teams. The funniest thing is they beat. So they played like the grit and grind Grizzlies, and they beat them, and that was a big series. That was when Golden State for the first time pushed themselves over the top. This was like back in 2015. And then they're now beating the new edition of the Grizzlies.
Yeah, talk about longevity.
Which is very far from grit and grind, but yeah, that's excellence right there.
Yeah, no, I was going to do this giant kind of season recap thing, but I guess once again I've put too much in the rundown.
I mean, we can,
he's overworking, man.
Listen, you're running point, man. You do
no,
I
got you. I just want to hear, obviously, like we're at this break point in the season. The Raptors we talked about like in ninth and stuff. We talk so much about all the disappointing parts about this season, right? Like just their loss of like their defensive identity. I think we've talked so much about the front office not addressing the needs of the roster, just lack of internal improvement, and we've talked so much about just the overall chemistry issues too, right? Like so much of the off the court stuff. Cash, when you look, just kind of zoom out big picture at this Raptor season, like what's been the most like disappointing thing for you?
The most disappointing thing for me would probably be how glaring the same deficiencies from last season were this season. And your point about them not being addressed by the front office coming into the year and how that really hamstrung the team, the coaching staff, put a ceiling on what this team could be this year. And, you know, as I was saying a few minutes ago, by the time they addressed it, it was most likely too late for any meaningful competition this season, unless you're talking about trying like heck to get into the 6th spot. So that to me was definitely the most disappointing part. And also, can I just say, I burst out laughing when I did read your show prep and rundown that in the most positive, in the most positive highlights of the season, your top one was the Neo concert that broke out at the Nick Nurse event before the season.
No, so I was gonna flip it on Will because, like, you know, obviously I think day to day we've talked a lot, like broken down a lot of the things that have gone wrong this season. So if anything, want to give Will a chance to you know, at least like put kind of a bright spot on this season or things to be optimistic about. But before I ask you, you know, I did put together just the highlights of this season, and I want to see if we missed anything.
Okay, let's hear it.
You know, that you come to mind. So yes, as Cash mentioned, number one was the Nick Nurse Foundation event to kick off the season.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Which was very exciting.
The 3 of us were jamming front row, man.
Just to be clear, the entire Toronto sports media was jamming. Like, we were having a great time.
There were like maybe 50 people there, and
we made up like 80%.
So
singing Neo word for word.
Yo.
No, it was incredible.
Neo for the next Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I mean, you know what? Probably not. It's probably not going to happen. But
I was thinking about that.
Maybe include him. That's part of it.
I think Usher might get a shot before Neo, though. Usher got the catalog.
Well, I told you, man. Usher will definitely beat Neo in the verses, but
that's still debatable.
Well, we literally debated this at the event with Neo, like right there. With
wonderful event
with his fedora too. I think that was a cute angle.
I think that was early signs too of you know, chemistry issues. We did see different factions of players not hanging.
No, it was really funny because Nick did an interview preseason. I forget with who. But he talked about, someone asked him like what's on his iPod or something.
Oh, okay.
And he was like, yeah, you know, I've been listening to, you know, Thelonious Monk, you know, all that other stuff. And he's like, and Neo. And I was like, what? Neo? And then I figured out that's why.
Oh yeah, that was the drop. Okay, so that was
studying so sick.
That was one highlight. Next one was Pascal scoring the 52 in New York, right?
Yeah, still probably the best performance I've seen from the Raptors. It's actually not close. Although Jakob Poeltl probably cracking the top 5 last night. I mean,
let's put Jakob in there.
He was good.
This list is starting to run out, all right? So apologies for this. How about the 4th quarter comeback in Miami early in the season?
The one where they still ended up losing?
No, there's the one. Didn't they play? It was Christian Coloco. This was the Coloco Caleb Martin fight. Did they
That's
end up
the game
losing?
they lost.
Oh my God!
They
never
won.
mind.
They played 2 straight in Miami early in the season. They made the 4th quarter comeback in the game they still lost.
You know why I put that in there? Because it was a win for me because they covered the spread.
Okay.
So next one.
You're a sicko.
I don't really have much left. Like they blew out Atlanta and San Antonio in back-to-back games. They like beat San Antonio by like 43 and Atlanta by 30.
Yeah.
They beat the Cavs 3 times this season.
I think one of those Cavs, if like for me, and this is, it might be like Raptors fans will say, well, this is embarrassing because it was so early in the season. My high point of the season so far was the second time they beat Cleveland. It was Siakam had just missed a couple weeks with injury, and they had survived that stretch. They had treaded water without him. And then his first game back, they beat the Cavs for the second time already this season and moved a game over 500 with Siakam now back in the lineup. That night, I felt really good about this team and thought, you know what? Now they can go on the run. If they stay healthy now, they're going to be, at least in the regular season, near the top of the East. They're going to start to separate themselves, and obviously we know that didn't happen. So I actually think that second win against Cleveland in Siakam's first game back to put them back over 500 was probably the high point of the year for me.
Well, in that same week, they got blown out by New Orleans and then Brooklyn. Like, I think that was like right after.
We're doing highlights right now, man.
Oh, my bad. And the other highlight.
The wrong play.
The other highlight was that exciting win over Sacramento to open the road trip.
Bro, 2 of our best wins this season are against Sacramento and Orlando. And preseason, nobody could have predicted that.
Yeah, those are really the highlights.
But those are great performances.
I don't know if there's anything else that I missed.
You missed the fact that the Raptors had 3 teams at the Rico Hines runs in August. You didn't like Raptors Squad A versus Raptors Squad B.
Oh, right.
Who was it? Who was it in those Rico Hines runs? That clip went viral in the summer. Was it Paul George? It was someone saying, you know, oh, you like look at the Raptors here. You guys, all this chemistry, whatever. Yeah, PG was like, if you guys don't get off to a great start, it's going to be really disappointing. Well, that was ominous.
Yeah, never listen to Paul George.
I'm sick of him, man.
No.
Don't forget he stole Kawhi from us. Too. He's partially guilty, man.
Lowlights, I mean.
Hey, man, do we need to
just want to point out.
Let's go.
2 3-game win streaks all season, and here's the 3 straight wins that they were able to get. The first 3-game win streak was a win at home over Portland, and then 2 straight over Charlotte.
Okay.
So does that really count?
No, it counts, man.
Okay. And then recently they beat Houston.
Yep.
And an injured, riddled Memphis team on the road to end the road trip.
Yep.
And then obviously beat the Spurs right before the deadline. These are the only 2 times they've been able to string together 3 straight wins.
The only positive is that they have both come more recently. You know, I think that it was in January and February.
How far has this propaganda
They're
fallen?
as close to 500 right now, 3 games under 500, than they have been since December 23rd.
Man.
Yeah.
When they beat Cleveland again.
I think the thing with the lowlights here is just they've had so many close losses in late games. And I do wonder if like the composure is there for them to just complete some of these games. Because look at that Utah game, for example. If the Raptors win that Utah game, they're on a 6-game win streak right now.
Yeah, but
they should have won that Utah game. They led for 44 minutes.
Of course, but
they didn't.
Yeah,
exactly. No, they're really bad in close games is what I'm trying to say.
You could say that about both Utah games. Even the one on the road, they had a chance to win.
I agree.
Right?
Yeah. They
Like,
could have been that road trip 6-1. Like, and obviously, look, you can flip a lot. I'm not trying to say that. Like, you win all these games, you have more wins because obviously that's true. My point is that they're putting them in position to win these games, but they don't close the deal. Same thing in the Phoenix game. So,
Yeah. My other low light, I think, is kind of funny to me. Like, they've been beaten by guys in last minute of guys that aren't even on the teams anymore. Kyrie. Hit a game winner, right? For Brooklyn.
Yep.
D'Angelo Russell had the rip through. Like, these guys aren't even on those teams anymore.
We lost on our rip through.
But these guys aren't even on their teams anymore.
Never seen a game decided on a rip
just
through.
ridiculous. And of course the Milwaukee Bucks game, the national TV game.
Oh, that one. That is the ultimate low light for me.
The one where they started like 1 for 20 or whatever it was, and then made the crazy
2 for
comeback.
32,
late.
right?
30.
2 for 30.
And then they made the craziest comeback in franchise history.
Yes.
Still lost in overtime.
Yeah, I don't know why they stopped going through Scotty at the end.
That was a personal low point for Will. Like, that was the personal low point of the season.
I agree.
So, well, after that, what are your reasons for optimism moving forward here, Will?
No, they're just playing better basketball. So that's fairly simple for me. Like, they've played much better as a group for the last like month and a half, essentially. They're the only thing is they're not able to finish a lot of these
closing these games out. Yeah,
but once they've complete that aspect as well, and I do believe there is a measure of luck that involved in that as well. I do believe that there is. I mean, like, you watched the game last night. There clearly is a lot of talent on the Raptors. It's just about the cohesion. It's and it's the other thing too with the lowlights. It's the team meetings.
Of course,
it's the Thad and Scotty after the warm ups. And that was during a win, by the we against Portland.
Oh man,
just got to say that. Right?
Yeah,
we won that game.
Kick started the 3-game win streak. First 3-game win streak of the season.
That's right. That was we have to take all 6 games of the 6-game road trip here, or homestand. It's the Nick Nurse having meetings with everybody. Masai talking about he had meetings with everybody. There's just a lot of meetings in this team.
Yep.
I'm not trying to hear no more meetings, man. Let's just really lock in, focus. The talent is much better than the result in the standings. And, it's time to make good on that, man. Pull off a 10-game win streak or something.
Oh, okay. You're asking for too much.
I am, but still,
you're
that's what
asking
we
for a
need.
lot, man. Just string together 4 good quarters.
Yeah, okay.
Against a good team. Yeah. All right. That was our Raptors season look back for now.
Yeah.
When we come back from the break, is it going to be Hello Darkness, My Old Friend playing us in instead of...
I mean, whatever you need, man. I think we got the DX music queued up.
Oh, okay. All right, let's hear that music. So we're going to take that break. I'm your host, Wimlu, and you've been listening to The Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Welcome back to the Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. I'm your host, William Lou. I continue to be joined by producer and co-host Alex Wong and the scores, Joseph Casciaro. The vibes are very high right now.
Yeah, having
14.
Cash in studio, fits snug like a Patagonia fleece, man.
Wow.
Just want to give a quick
there.
shout
That's
out.
Bars.
Just want to give a quick shout out to Cash's parents, Frank and Maria.
Oh, okay.
How many,
Yeah, let's
how
do
many
it.
times
Just,
the
great-
Casciaro family?
No,
gonna
because I
get
wasn't
shut-
here the other time. Because when Pound the Rock Wednesday, I kind of
Oh, that's right. you
slide
weren't
off
here. You
camera.
sent Will
Right,
the
right.
email to give them the
just
shout out.
great hospitality from Frank and Maria during
Right.
the holiday break when I left my phone, in the Uber. So
Right,
appreciate
you
it.
had a, what would you have again? Martini? Was it a
What?
martini? What
Yeah,
did they
well,
make you?
what?
Negroni?
A couple cognacs.
Yeah, a couple
Cognacs.
cognacs.
There we go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
All right. Did they sell the
Appreciate
season tickets?
My dad and my uncle split them now.
They're good seats, man.
Yeah.
They were really close to where Raptors Republic used to have their seats. So I used to see
Mm.
your parents and
That's
sometimes
right.
you fairly decent
Yeah.
amount when we got those.
no, I
tickets.
think Cash's mom follows us on IG. I
Really.
think so. Keeps
Okay.
track of.
Now I'm
of
actually
things.
using Instagram
Oh,
mostly
it's,
as
it's
people.
actually you now?
It's him now.
Well, he
Oh,
had
I
to give
thought
me
it
the
was-
account.
I thought it was
yeah.
you.
No, we had to make the
No.
KFC handoff. So we have joint custody in a way, but
Okay.
he
As you know, I'm the chicken
Yeah.
man, so I had to actually take over that account. Two
Mhm.
new hashtag ad posts yesterday, by the way.
no fire, man.
Yeah, it was.
No, I'm
I had to
happy.
learn how to add subtitles to Adobe Premiere.
Mm.
I'm learning how to use Adobe Premiere in this process. of
No,
being an
I'm really
influencer.
proud of you for getting into the influencer space.
Okay.
No, I
this,
mean
I know
that,
that's
man.
something
I'm
you
not-
really wanted from me for a long
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
No, by the way, I don't know if shouts to the folks at Crocs. I did beg
Yeah.
on air for a pair of
Yo,
NBA All Star Crocs, and shouts to a rep from from Crocs reached
you don't
out.
have their name?
You have a
Appreciate it.
crazy
Mr.
Crocs
Nash.
collection, too.
Mr. Nash, I really appreciate it.
Mr. Nash.
Yeah.
This guy talking about him like he's a
Yeah.
grade 9
You have a
science
crazy
teacher.
Crocs collection, though.
I do.
Legit.
No,
you
no,
got the floral ones.
No, but
you got-
Will was saying on air that I love Crocs, and it wasn't a lie. Like
Yeah.
this is
Well,
part of my game.
Here's the thing. If we rewind the tape back to, I believe, Tuesday's episode. Was it Tuesday? No,
Monday.
Monday's episode.
Yeah.
We came back from the break and we did 5 minutes of essentially ads.
It
Okay.
was a lot of ads.
It was a bit of an ad space.
Shouts
But
to Wong's ice cream.
we talked, shouts out Wong's ice cream. I'll pick that up soon.
Go today. Anyways, yeah.
So we had
Mm.
we talked about the fact that there were these new NBA Crocs being released, and I believe at the time on the clock, I think when we said it was 2:40,
Yeah.
and by 2:45, you already had a message in your inbox being like, "Here's the Crocs on your way."
Yeah. So
So
super appreciate it.
shouts to Mr. Nash apparently.
Yeah, if anybody at MLSE wants to send me, I'm still looking for that Justin Bieber Leafs collab jersey.
Yeah, you gotta keep
the
looking. man.
reversible.
Keep looking, bro.
Ailish
You-
Farfar, if you're not, taking a nap from morning show. She works for the Leafs now, I think.
So just ask her directly then.
I'm just gonna beg for one thing once a week. Is there anything out there that you're looking for?
I was thinking of going to McDonald's and seeing that, that
Oh, the swirl.
Pascal thing.
Yeah,
'Cause,
yeah. The
No,
new
'cause
Pascal McFlurry.
I was made aware of it yesterday on the show again during our ad space.
Mhm.
And
There's a new Pascal McFlurry.
Yeah,
Yes.
so it's I believe it's called the Siakam Swirl,
Okay.
so it's a
um,
play on the spin move.
and it's with red Smarties. Pascal said that when he first got McDonald's, that was the first menu item that he got.
Smarties McFlurry.
The McFlurry, yeah, the McFlurry. So he's got a personal attachment to it,
Mhm.
which he called cap on, but yeah.
Oreo's better, but
No, Smarties was the GOAT McFlurry flavor.
Mm.
really,
But then in Canada, they changed it, and you could only get M&Ms. And most people say
Oh.
it tastes the same. No, it doesn't.
Yeah. As I left the arena yesterday, there was a huge McDonald's truck outside handing out the free
oh word.
Siakam Swirl. Yeah,
Why'd you message
I
me,
did,
man?
I did consider
I'm there
lining up,
too,
but it was a
man.
huge line.
Oh, it was? All right, fair enough.
There was no media pass.
For a McDonald's flurry, man. Yo, have some shame.
Anyways, hard pivot. Cash and Wolfon does such a wonderful job on
Absolutely.
the Scores Pound the Rock podcast that
Mhm.
everybody should subscribe to. And thought since we have Cash here, wanted to ask you guys a couple questions about the rest of the season. First one for you, Cash. Who's your most interesting team to watch for the rest of this season?
I'm going to cheat and give you a few.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
let's do it.
Memphis is one because things always hit the fan when the Grizzlies play. Jaws Audacity is fun to watch, but also they didn't really upgrade at the deadline. And I think there are still people who don't quite believe they're this good, and they're going to be up against it to win a round or two just because of the way the West improved. Sacramento, just because they're trying to get into the playoffs for the first time since 2006. It's the longest postseason drought in NBA history. Again, they didn't make any moves at the deadline. You could argue on paper they're like the 9th best team in the West, but they have the head start of starting in 3rd. And then in terms of like the actual like championship ceiling teams, I think it has to be the Suns, obviously, with KD in the mix, and also the Clippers because, as we say every other week, like, oh, if Kawhi and PG are healthy, and Kawhi has started to look like his old, inevitable, robotic Terminator self when he's on the court.
Mm-hmm.
No back-to-backs in the playoffs, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
They obviously have a championship ceiling, but I'm interested to watch how they look over the next couple months leading into the playoffs, and also just how many games those guys play together.
Yeah. Who would you pick as your favorite in the West right now? Just looking at it.
Okay. Favorite, I think Phoenix has the highest ceiling, but favorite in terms of who I actually trust to get the job done when the playoffs come would right now be Denver.
No, I think that's fair.
Denver's being slept on a little bit, man. They're really, really good as a group. A lot of their role players stepping up, which is normal around Jokic. For me, the team to watch is the Phoenix Suns.
Oh, got it in at the buzzer.
How do you not watch that team? I can't wait to see them all play together, man. I'm just really excited, man. It's crunch time. It's just gonna be mid-range after mid-range after mid-range, and you can't do nothing to stop that team. I'm really excited, and of course, if they combust, I'm also there to see Chris Paul do another, hits a big 3 to bring the lead down to 42 again.
Oh man!
So it's a win-win, really. Even when they lose, it's a win.
I'm rooting for Chris Paul, man. I know Chris Paul got a lot of haters. I want to see him get that ring, man.
I want to see him win a title.
He's one of the best point guards of all time.
Yeah. I want to see him win a title for a lot of the reasons we wanted to see Kyle win. Like Chris Paul and Kyle Lowry are so similar in style, temperament, gamesmanship. Everything is the same except, Chris Paul obviously did everything a little better. He's the point guard. But stylistically and like personality-wise on the court, they're very similar players. And if you rooted for Kyle, you should kind of be rooting for Chris Paul. I know the difference is Kyle was playing for the Raptors, but still.
Yeah. Well, the other big difference is Kyle Lowry has a ring.
That's why we're rooting for Chris Paul to get on that level.
No, man. Actually, I want Kyle to have one thing over for Chris.
Actually, the funniest thing I saw, I guess Chris gave a quote after making the finals a couple of years ago that he was like, I'm addicted to this feeling now of being in the finals. And there's like an account on Twitter that retweets it every month being like, oh, congrats on being 2 years sober.
Hey, man.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. It's tough. But there's a lot of Chris Paul haters out there, which I get for his style of play, I think, and all that stuff.
Will mentioned the combustibility factor with Phoenix. I was saying to you guys as we came into the studio, KD has missed 38% of potential games
injured at the moment
from an Achilles injury and is currently out with a knee injury. Devin Booker, whose long-term durability isn't anything to worry about, this season has missed time with a groin injury twice. And Chris Paul has suffered disastrous playoff injuries like every other year. So that combustibility factor is pretty high.
Yeah.
Yeah, as I said, KD going to Phoenix, the only risk they removed was losing their starting point guard because of anti-Semitism. Yeah. Like there's the on-court risks are still there. My team.
This is a wild NBA season, man. Because I was also thinking in the back of my head,
every NBA season's wild.
Everyone just forgot the Chris Paul story that happened this year, huh?
Right.
The very, very big Chris Paul story. But we're gonna keep going.
That's more in the gossip area.
Oh yeah,
that's what I'm saying though. But how could you forget that very, very famous piece of
that's
gossip?
Fair. My most interesting team is the Philadelphia 76ers, actually.
Ooh.
No, like I'm looking at them because part of me is interested to see how it all combusts.
It's gonna combust in the second
playoffs. I just feel when I look at the top of the East, like Boston has a championship window. I don't feel like they'll be disappointed obviously if they don't win this year, but it's not like they need the window's closing on them. They've got Tatum and Brown, the rest of the team. Milwaukee's already got a championship with Giannis. To me, Philadelphia is going into the playoffs in the East with the most pressure out of any of these teams. And it's like, can they get to the conference finals, or can they even get to the finals? Like, they've been playing really well of late, but we know, like, with Embiid and with Harden, it's just the history of them in, like, closeout games or, like, big moments in the playoffs. Like, I feel like if they don't get out of the second round this year, like, Embiid might be the next superstar guy we were talking about relocating.
I can't wait.
Sacramento has made the playoffs 5 years more recently than Philadelphia has made the conference finals.
Right. Yeah. Conference finals, the last time was 2001.
Well, Sacramento's been in the conference finals more recently than Philadelphia has.
Yeah. Which is wild.
I was there for that.
So, next, Cash, what about your most interesting player to watch for the rest of this season?
Okay, I'm going to go a little off the board here and bring some CanCon to the discussion and say Jamal Murray. And the reason I say that is because I already said the Nuggets, I think, are actually the most trustworthy West team this year. And Jamal Murray's health is a big part of that. Now, he's currently out with right knee soreness. The surgically repaired knee is the left knee. So I don't know whether to be more concerned by this or less concerned by this. But anyway, before this most recent absence, he had started to look like Jamal Murray again. Yeah. His scoring and efficiency had started to balloon. For the season, he's now up to 50% from 2, almost 40% from 3, over 80% from the free throw line. I'm really interested to see if he can, when he gets back from this latest knee injury, which I assume would be after the All-Star break, if he can pick up where he was, had just left off. Because if he does, and he goes into the playoffs as that player again, the Nuggets, to me, are my pick.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
What
also
about
one
you,
of the clutchest players in the league.
Yep.
Another, honestly, kind of the same deal, really. But Devin Booker, I just think that he was having such an amazing season, and Phoenix was actually doing well before his injury, and then they cratered, and then they kind of rebounded, and they got a couple of wins together, including one against Toronto, and now they got Kevin Durant in the mix. I just think that Devin Booker is just really primed to take that superstar jump, and I think that going through this postseason, I could really see a scenario where he plays even at the level of a guy like Kevin Durant in the playoffs. And I know that's asking for a lot because obviously KD's such a phenomenal player. I mean, KD's going to be seeing double teams, right? That's probably going to free up Devin Booker even more in a way that I don't think he's ever played with a guy better than him before. And man, I'm really excited to see him, man. I just really like Devin Booker as a player as well, really aesthetically pleasing to watch. He competes hard now. He gets after it on defense. I don't know how effective he is on defense, but he gets after it, and every time he gets an interview, you remember that his voice is super deep. So I don't know. I'm just excited to see Devin Booker.
Yeah, and he drives these old cars to the arena.
Sure, yeah.
01 Honda Civic type vibes. Want to hear your bold prediction? So quickly, my most interesting player, shocker, is Giannis. No, JR, clip that. Let's move on.
Why Giannis, man? What intrigues you about
man,
Giannis?
I just like watching guys that I dreamed about coming to the Raptors. No, he's been on a tear though lately.
Right.
38 points, 13 rebounds, 6 assists.
That's regular for
in
him.
33 minutes in his last 10 games. Those are, even with inflation of numbers.
And they've won 11 in a row.
They've won 11 in a row. Yeah.
So, damn.
Anyways, one bold prediction for the rest of this season. Joe Cash.
Nuggets win their first championship in franchise history.
Damn. Adam Silver going to be handing the trophy out in altitude? Are you telling me?
To a Kroenke?
The only case, honestly, against the Nuggets
the
is just
family winning this year, man.
Yeah, it's just that they're the Nuggets. It's just sometimes it's hard, I think, for people to see it happen.
Yeah. It's just like when the Raptors won.
Exactly.
Yeah, because they don't fit into that mold of championship franchise.
Even when the Warriors, I know the franchise had won one before, but that 2014-15 season, I know it was different. They won 67 games, they were dominant. But for people in our generation that had never seen the Warriors be that good, it was tough to envision. Is Golden State really going to win the title? I'm sure people outside of Toronto in 2019 are like, there's no way we're actually going to see a team in Raptors jersey holding Larry O'B. And I feel like it's the same thing this year with the Nuggets. But I get that Boston's been the best team. Milwaukee has Giannis. But if you're asking for a bold prediction, I'll go with Denver.
No, I like that.
You want bold?
Bold?
Cleveland Cavaliers out in the first round of the playoffs.
Oh, I like that.
All right.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's a younger group. We kind of tend to forget that aspect. I mean, listen, young teams always go through some heartbreak in the playoffs. But you look at how they match up against some of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. Even a potential tricky team like Toronto. I'm kidding.
No, man, we're not
really
there
gonna
yet.
get up there
We're
like
not
that.
there yet.
But I'm telling you, man,
What if
I'm worried.
What if it's a 3-6 Cleveland Toronto, or if somehow a 2-7?
Man,
Cleveland is the team, I guess, if we get there.
I'm just
Man, if we somehow get to the second round after this mess of a season.
Come on, man.
You're the one that started this just 30 seconds ago. How are you come on, man? You're out of control.
That's just an agent of chaos.
He's like, come on, man. What are you talking about?
You know I was lying.
Oh, man.
You know how much I love to lie.
That's wild. 30 seconds. My bold is I've seen enough from the Warriors. I'm going to say they're not going to make it past the second round. I just think it's been too inconsistent of a season. I know we keep pointing to the pedigree, pointing even to the numbers when they're healthy with a full starting five. I still don't know why they're 7-22 on the road. And I heard Draymond yesterday talk after the Clippers game about just they don't have a collectiveness on defense. And this is 60 games into the season now. And even the last three champions, if you look at it, different circumstances, but Raptors, went out second round in the bubble. Lakers won in the bubble and then was out in the first round. The Bucks went out in the second round. I just think it's hard to repeat these performances, and they've just played a lot of games. And yeah, I'm gonna have the Warriors going out either in the first or second round. I could see them being knocked out in the first round. Honestly,
I could see them not making the playoffs.
Yeah, Because right now they're still in the
wild.
play-in.
That'd be wild.
So,
All right, that's not bad.
all right, that's it.
That's it. We're done for today.
Appreciate you, Cash.
I'm your host,
Thanks for
Willu,
having
and you've been listening to the Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Make sure you find the Raptors Show wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe. And please rate and review the show. Reminder, we're streaming live on Sportsnet's YouTube channel and airing live on Sportsnet 360 Monday to Friday from 2 to 3 p.m. Thanks once again to Joseph Casciaro, our board producer and co-host. Alex Wong, our board producer in this time, Derek Brandale and Jennifer Rolnick for helping us with the YouTube stream. And we'll be back to talk to you tomorrow.